Attorney Josh Basile makes his long commute early to the law firm in downtown D.C.
It was great meeting you this morning, period.
And is finishing emails late into the evening, researching and preparing civil lawsuits by the dozen, a dream he's chased for years after growing up and graduating school in Montgomery County, and making family vacations to the Eastern Shore, including the summer trip to Bethany Beach in 2004.
That one wave changed everything.
The trip that nearly killed him.
Turned my back to the ocean, and a wave picked me up and dropped me on my head and shattered my 5th cervical vertebra in my neck.
Basile is a quadriplegic.
I'm able to move my right arm. I have no finger function, wrist function.
At his condo in Bethesda, a nurse and attendant help him dress and clean and commute.
Private duty nursing care, for my reality, it has to be there for the rest of my life.
In the office, voice recognition software and a mouse device he controls with his mouth help him operate his computer and practice law.
If I didn't have a job, I wouldn't be able to pay my rent or my mortgage. So I would end up having to move to a nursing home and to get the care that I need. And that's a world I don't want to ever live in.
But Basile and state legislators say a loophole in Maryland law could soon prevent him from having his job or getting his care.
If you can have a job, they don't think you need the private duty nursing.
Correct.
The I-Team found a problem with Maryland's Medicaid program. Basile needs a service called REM, rare and expensive medicine, for that full-time nursing he receives. He needs a different program called EID, Employment for Individuals with Disabilities, to be allowed to have a job and earn income while still on Medicaid. Maryland does not let you do both. So Basile says he might have to quit his job.
We are trying to correct a wrong.
Maryland State Senator Susan Lee is trying to pass new law to give Basile an exemption, a 3-year-long patch to state law to allow Basile and a handful of others to receive their nursing care and keep their jobs.
Unfortunately, Josh fell through the cracks with this inconsistency in the law, and we're trying to correct that right now.
The Maryland Department of Health, which oversees Medicaid programs, says it could not comment on Basile's case or the bill, but in a written statement said it is working closely with the legislature to determine the best possible outcomes for those who could potentially be impacted and benefit from this piece of legislation. Disability advocates say current law perhaps didn't envision someone who needs full-time nursing but is able to hold a job.
It is a challenge when I'm at work to do the work that I do, but I find a way.
Advancements in voice recognition technology.
Alexa, turn on TV.
Okay.
Could make it a possibility for others in the coming years. Without a fix to state law, advocates for people with disabilities worry people with rare medical conditions won't have much reason to try for career achievements.
They won't try to work because at the end of the day, they won't be able to work.
Basile says he's kept his job in the meantime through a series of appeals, but worries his time is running out. The state legislature finishes its year on Monday. We'll be there and keep you posted. Scott McFarland, News 4 I-Team. A new law to help this quadriplegic man from Bethesda passed at the 11th hour, just before the state legislature wrapped its 2018 session here in Annapolis.
Working as an attorney in downtown D.C., Josh Basile uses a mouse device he controls with his mouth.
It was great meeting you this morning.
And voice-activated technology to help practice law.
It is a challenge when I'm at work to do the work that I do, but I find a way.
He's a quadriplegic man with only limited use of his right hand. Injured by a wave while standing in the ocean in Bethany Beach in 2004 on a family vacation.
Turned my back to the ocean, a wave picked me up and dropped me on my head and shattered my 5th cervical vertebra in my neck.
With the help of nursing and attendant care, he lives in a Bethesda condo and makes the daily commute downtown to his job. Last week, the News 4 I-Team revealed Basile's career was in jeopardy because of a loophole in Maryland law, which prevents people who use Medicaid to work from also qualifying for nursing care for rare and expensive medical conditions.
If I didn't have a job, I wouldn't be able to pay my rent or my mortgage. So I would end up having to move to a nursing home and to get the care that I need. And that's a world I don't want to ever live in.
Days after our I-Team report, Maryland legislators scrambled to try to pass new law to give Basile a 3-year reprieve, allowing him and others with rare illnesses access to both their jobs and their nurses. Basile trekked to the State House on Monday before state legislators approved the bill, sparing him from losing his job. Bethesda Senator Susan Lee sponsored the legislation.
Josh came to us, and we knew that we had to fix this problem because it's an injustice. We don't want anyone to have to choose between working or receiving vital health support services.
In a senator's meeting room hours before the session ended, members of the legislature congratulated Basile for lobbying for change.
And thanks to the NBC story, NBC viewers calling in to their legislators, we've really put together a policy and a bill that will not only help me, but many others like me. And that just makes me feel so great inside.
Supporters of this new law admit it is a short-term fix. It helps Basile and anybody else currently impacted. But as for the long term, a future fix, they may have to revisit that next legislative session in 2019. In Annapolis, Scott McFarland, News 4 IT.
Maryland Governor Larry Hogan signed a new law today to help people with severe disabilities. In the wake of a report from our News 4 I-team, it will immediately help a quadriplegic man in our area who was at the center of the I-team story. Scott McFarland joins us tonight with the update. Hi, Scott.
Hey, Doreen, just weeks ago, the I-team revealed the case of Josh Basile, a man who suffered a catastrophic injury about 15 years ago at Bethany Beach. He's an attorney who has only limited use of his right hand, and he requires full-time nursing and attendant care at his home to survive. The I-team showed a loophole in our report, a loophole in Maryland law that was going to force Basile to either give up his nursing care or give up his job. Today, the governor signed new law to change the state's benefit system to allow Basile and others to continue receiving Medicaid to have both their jobs and those round-the-clock nurses.
It's an opportunity where if you're willing to work and you have a severe disability, you can, and you won't have to forego your supports. You can get in the community and get to work and give it your all.
Montgomery County State Senator Susan Lee pushed through this new law, saying Maryland had to fix its system or risk forcing people with disabilities to simply give up on their careers. Doreen and Leon, right back to you.
All right.
Like the way that ended.
Great work,
Thank
Scott.
you, Scott.